Welcome back. We continue live right here on the Bordas and Bordas hotline of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. This is a show for you to sound off, so that's what we're going to do. Head to the phone lines. Give us a shout all the way until 11. We'll begin with John in Connellsville. John, you're first. Go.
Bob.
Yes.
Hey, the guy that fumbled the ball into the end zone and they had to run it back. That would have never happened if he was carrying the ball in his left hand like he was supposed to, like everybody was always taught. But no, he carried it in the right, and that defensive guy would have never had a chance to knock that ball out of his hand. That thing.
Or John,
if
he would have cut inside, there was no way that guy was going to stop. He had a full head of steam going toward the pylon, and all he has to do is cut inside. And he should have made that play. That would have avoided contact mostly altogether, but I understand what you're saying. You cannot afford that call. That was 7 easy points they were giving him on a beautiful executed play call, and they end up getting nothing. Critical play. And to me, that's the biggest play. You can argue all these other things if you want, and we will, but if that play happens, it's a whole different game. And I think the Steelers never even get to the point of the end of the game where they need to score in the game's final minute. Xavier Grimble had this to say, by the way. It was Will Parks who came over from his safety spot and hit him. Quote, I could have cut back and scored, but I wanted to run right through him. All right, well, guess what? There's a lot of physical contact when you run right through someone, and the ball got jarred out. You would have been better off just trying to avoid him altogether. Why do you need to run someone over? I think that was a dumb situation to be in. Also, we've gotten a lot of feedback about James Conner. He still had a fabulous year and still could, but they've not run the ball. The last 3 games, 13 carries, 8 carries, 13 carries. He averages 48 yards per game in those 3. Prior to that, 118 in the previous 4 on average. They've gone away from it. I'm not sure exactly why. Are they losing confidence in him? I certainly hope not. The fumble certainly was big today, and he doesn't want to do that. He did it in the first game of the year against Cleveland, but I thought he atoned for that very well with the way he played in the next 4 or 5 weeks. Those drop touchdown passes last week could have been harmful. They end up winning the game anyway. So is that becoming an issue? I don't know the answer. I hope it's not. I still think the guy's had a wonderful second year in the league. So we'll see. But you can argue that maybe, they don't want to put him in those positions. We'll see. Let's go to line 2. Ed in Plum. What's up, Ed? How you doing?
Hey, great show, Bob.
Always a pleasure to talk to you, Ed. Thanks.
But I wanted to ask you, on that play Grimble made at the goal line, I thought the idea is winning the game. Like you said, he could have cut inside and won the game. He goes take a hard hit. I don't understand that.
No, I don't either. I mean, there was no one else around. If you look at the play, it was him. It was one-on-one. And he was at the goal line, so he was going to get there. It was just a matter of securing the football. And he chose contact as opposed to trying to just get the ball over the plane of the end zone. So thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it. Let's move along. We'll try to squeeze in as many as we can. Tony in the Hill District is up right now. Hey, Tony.
Hey, Bob. How are you?
Good, thanks.
I want to say I had counted 3 scuffles that Burfict had got into, and I want your opinion on this. If Goodell is making changes to the NFL, don't you think that he should make changes to repeat offenders like Burfict?
Yes, I do. I've said that before. I mean, guys like that drive me nuts. He's a very talented guy. If I were Marvin Lewis, he hitched his wagons to that guy and the guys like Pac-Man Jones. Get rid of him. It's as simple as that. He brings you more headache and trouble than anything else. A very talented player, I might add, as I said, but you can't keep doing that kind of stuff. Anyway, Derek in Katanning. What's up, Derek? How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Bob?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. There was a penalty where a Steeler was tackled by the back of the neck, and the officials called it grabbing the helmet opener. Mm-hmm. And to me, would that be the same as a horse collar, or is that a little bit different?
It's similar. It's a different interpretation of it, but yeah, similar. And they called it on the one play. The very next play, they didn't call it, which I thought was a little weird because it was a very similar play.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the officiating was inconsistent there because it looked like they maybe missed some face masks or didn't. I mean, it was kind of hard to tell. But
I also thought, they haven't caught a lot of helmet-to-helmet. They said they were going to crack down on these helmet-to-helmets. I haven't hardly seen any called, and there were a couple today, both sides of the ball, and yet we don't see calls. I don't know if they're just trying to get rid of it or what. Let's go to Mike in Altoona. What's up, Mike?
Hi, Bob. A couple quick things. I couldn't understand why Denver wasn't calling timeout at the end of the game there because you had to figure we were going to score something. Secondly, I don't know why Ben didn't try to barrel into the end zone instead of running out of bounds. And thirdly, James Conner, and we all love him, but he seems to lose his focus at the worst times in the game. So what do you think?
I think focus is a problem. You have to concentrate. Last week, and thanks for the call, he was taking his eyes off of the ball before it got there, and you can't do that. Looking ahead to try, it would have been an easy touchdown. And then the fourth, there was another drop pass on a 4th and 5 play that would have moved the sticks, and he dropped that one. And today was a concentration play as well, I would imagine. You have to be first and foremost looking at possessing the ball and not losing it. That's important. What else did you ask me now? I should have written it down. I think about, Roethlisberger at the goal line. Okay, well, number one, they were waiting for that same play call. They saw it last week. They saw it earlier in the game today, so the shovel pass and the RPO wasn't going to work. Again, I have Rosie Nix on my team for a reason. He's a really good blocker. I put my all-beef package in, and I just go after it. That's how I would do that. You're asking me if Denver, and it's funny you say that because I was looking at Twitter at some of the people in Denver. They were getting all over their coaching staff for not calling timeout. So this clock management thing is always an issue no matter what, because I would have done the same thing. I would have preserved some time if I were Denver. I did not want to be in a situation where I had nothing left and they were just going to run the clock out. But they chose not to do that, and the Steelers, I would have taken a different course of action. I understand the game plan coming in was to pass the football. They believed they could have success, and they did. But also, you can't ignore the run, especially at times of the game where the run is your best weapon, I think. And I thought for 2 yards, they have a full set of downs. I would have chosen to go in that direction. All right, let's go back to the Lions and Jerome in Pittsburgh. Hey, Jerome, how are you?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
Okay, thank you.
The question that I have right now, the way that Connor is playing, do you think that they should have been able to work something out with Bell?
They tried everything. He was unwilling to do it. He was an unwilling participant. It's as simple as that. Where they made their mistake, now this is hindsight looking back, because I never thought it would come to this. Where they made their mistake was they should have just cut ties in the offseason. If they didn't get what they wanted done, they trusted him and to come in. They trusted him into being here week 1 like he did last year. And he said that is going to be his intention. And he didn't live up to any of that. They never thought it was going to be the bye week and then the trade deadline. Then it never happened. So, they hitched themselves to him. They were misled. And they should have just, looking back, maybe not even dealt with it, used the $14.5 million on somebody else for this coming season. But that's hindsight, and that's the way it goes. John in Johnstown, you're up. Hey, John.
Okay, Brother Bob. First of all, I agree with you. We should have ran the ball in. I don't understand this little flick pass. That's what killed us against New England last year. I agree with you 100%. Run the ball and get the touchdown. Okay,
well,
brother?
I mean, you're not guaranteed because they did run it on second down, but I thought that was if they're going to run it on one play, that was going to be it. I would have just done it 3 straight times, and I would just try to push the pile and get somebody into throw that ball over the goal line at some point. And that to me,
I agree with you.
Yeah. I just that's my only complaint about that series. They had some beautiful play calls. The fake field goal. If that doesn't work, people calling this show all night long about how stupid can they be. They took points off the board. Listen, it's a high-risk business, and there's always going to be second-guessing involved.
Yeah, turnovers killed us, Brother Bob. You're right. So.
All right, John, thanks. Let's go to Marilyn in Munhall. Next up. Hey, Marilyn.
Hi, Bob. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I listened to Juju Smith-Schuster and the offensive lineman and the defensive lineman, and they all blamed today's defeat because of poor playing, except for Ben Roethlisberger, who threw two interceptions, and he just called it a fluke. Now, how come he can't man up like everybody else?
Well, he normally does.
Take some responsibility.
He always does.
What
Roethlisberger
happened.
always takes responsibility. On this case, he said that defensive lineman dropped back or was pushed back. I looked at the tape a couple of times. I think he actually dropped back. Looked to me like that was part of their play call. I don't know. Maybe it's a different situation that he's looking at. But even so, if he had gotten that pass through that defensive lineman, there was still coverage on Antonio Brown. So that was going to be a low percentage pass, I thought, no matter what happened. And again, my thing was I would have just lined it up and busted it in as best I could. And if I don't do it, so be it. Tip your hat to them. You stopped us. You knew it was coming. We got to take a break. Mike, Bones, Kirk, Brian, and Dom, you're all coming up next right here on Pittsburgh CW.